around the world to the 3ZZZ World Cup show. My name is Gabriel DeArne. It is wonderful to have your company. And speaking of wonderful company, sitting next to me from the Irish Broadcasting Group, coming to a jazz club near you, it's DeArne Leonard. How are you?
I'm great, Gabe, and how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And sitting next to DeArne from the German Broadcasting Group, coming to a social event near you. Whether you invited him or not, he's coming. Bernd Merkel. How are you, Bernd?
Hi, Gabriel. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. The first round of World Cup matches have finished. There's been quite a few, well, shall we say, results that we were expecting, but some that were extremely surprising. One of them comes to mind, and I wanted to ask you, Bernd.
Rub it in.
Oh, no.
Bernd, so I know that a lot of people probably asked you all week and just pestered you with phone calls and emails and texts. So I'm going to ask you right now the important question: who's going to win the AFLW Grand Final? No, kidding. Germany versus Japan. What the hell happened?
Yeah, fair enough. And I think whole Germany is asking that question. In particular, what the hell happened the last 30 minutes, right? I mean, we were, I would say, to a certain degree dominating the game. We were the better team. We were not outstanding, but we were up 1-0. And although I had in the first half, there were a few counterattacks where I thought we are not as stable in defense. You remember what I said last week?
Yes.
Not as stable as we should, but I thought, okay, it's going to be 2-0, not, as I said, super convincing, but at least a decent start. And then you have to ask Hansi Flick, why these substitutions, you know? So Gündoğan was our leader in midfield, not only because he scored the penalty, but also he was present there in that really central midfield position. And then to take him out, I mean, that was even the bigger question than Thomas Müller. He was not fit. He hasn't really trained the last 6 weeks. But that's definitely a question, in addition to the starting 11 as well. A few question marks on that.
Okay. So you think that the coach has sole responsibility in that performance, or do you also think that some of the players probably disrespected Japan a bit, maybe?
I wouldn't say disrespect. That's probably a bit too much. But definitely the coach made a few mistakes, as I said, and yeah, why playing with Süle right back? He had a few games with Dortmund there, but I think his place is centre back, and Thilo Kehrer, who had most of the minutes under Flick so far, was not on the wing. And yeah, start with Thomas Müller. I mean, looking back, yeah, you can ask about those questions. Was the starting lineup the right one? But yeah, there was a lot missing the last 20-30 minutes, and I think whole Germany is, under these circumstances, in shock.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yes, I watched the match as well, but I think there were some game-changing moments that should have taken place that didn't in that match. From the seat I was watching from, Germany were precision, they were dominating, they probably had 85 to 90% of the possession. It's really the last 20 minutes where everything flipped on its axis in terms of what happened. And look, with a positive spin, both goal scorers for Japan play in the German League and Bundesliga. Yeah. So you've had some influence in what happened with Germany, okay?
Yeah, I think that's the opposite. It hurts even more.
Oh, sorry. But the big game changer for me, like we'll probably have a quick chat about Wales later, but when we're talking about consistency of the referees, the Japan keeper, Tsuchi Gonda, really should have had a red for the penalty where Germany scored. You look at the definition of a red card, it is clearly obstructing someone who is about to score, dangerous conduct and foul language, if you want to just simplify what a red card is. He actually took the German player out before there was a secondary contact that I think everyone saw more of. There was no card issued to Gonda, and I really think that would have made a whole complete different ball game, because to me, Germany did deserve to win that match, and it's unfortunate the last 20 minutes of play out on that pitch for their first World Cup opening match. I still believe in them. I still think they're... And look, another positive spin, if they come out somewhere else in the group stages, the round stages, they may not have the harder run up into the final. Okay.
I mean, I would love to share that hope, to be honest, but after that game, in particular, you know, Japan had a kind of action plan, you know. In the second half, they changed their tactics, you know. They had some substitutions that made a difference. Both players that scored were substituted in, right? And we more or less had the opposite. And we also, not only the defense, we just didn't score, right? If you miss maybe 1, 2, 3 chances, but in one stage you have to score. And that's also then, you can put a little bit of blame on the attackers.
Sure, and well, kudos to Japan.
Yeah,
Fantastic
absolutely.
result. In the last World Cup, they beat Colombia, the first Asian team to beat South American opposition in a World Cup. And this time around, they've beaten Germany. So Japan, they're just getting better and better. They're doing really good things. But also, you know, Germany, I understand where you're coming from, but also at the same time, in '82, they lost to Algeria in the first game. They made it to the final. 1990, Argentina lost their first game, made it to the final. Spain, 2010 lost their first game, won the whole thing.
The whole World Cup,
there's hope for you just yet. But just speaking of Argentina, that match against Saudi Arabia, that was one of the best games I've seen. Absolutely amazing match. Saudi Arabia, absolutely fantastic. What did you guys think?
I was on the edge of my seat watching that game. I was up in arms barracking for Saudi Arabia. I must say, as always, and this may be really unpopular, but I'm going to put it out there, I'm not on the Messi bandwagon. Never have been, because I give credit to his hard work, his playing skills, but I cannot stand his Academy Award winning moments. And there were a couple of them in that game against Saudi Arabia where he wasn't even touched, but he went to ground and he was giving free kicks. And thankfully, he didn't actually put them in the back of the net when he was given a couple of those. Yeah. But just the grind of that game and how, let's face it, Saudi Arabia is known for being very hard to score against. And they play a very gutsy defence. They kind of hang and let people come offside, which was happening a lot to Argentina. Their run was too quick in that game. Yeah. And Saudi Arabia just had them contained and they're just like, bang, goal. Let's go again. And I was just like, I was so happy to watch that match. Yeah, it was on fire.
All you Messi fans, send your emails to DeArne@hotmail.com.
That's the one, exactly.
But no, you're right. I think they were just really well coached, Saudi Arabia, the way they pushed up their line. And I highly suggest, after you watch our show, go on YouTube and see Rene Havard's motivational speech at half-time to his players at that game. It was absolutely wonderful, but they were just so well coached.
And I think Saudi Arabia, I see it from two perspectives. One is also from an Australian perspective. You know, we played against them in the qualifiers, and I always thought Australia is better than Saudi Arabia, so I have to take that back a bit and say Saudi Arabia is, with all respect, better than I thought, you know,
no,
so
true.
For sure. And the other thing is, those parallels with the Germany team, you know, Argentina, very early penalty, you know, could have finished the game very early and didn't. And then Saudi Arabia suddenly thought, hey guys, we are not down here 3-0, 4-0. We actually have a chance. And it's not about who's going to take Messi's jersey home, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
We can win this. And that was really impressive. And Argentina, similar to Germany, they didn't have any response to that. It was just at the end, you know, like, yeah, get another one into the penalty spot. But even Messi, there was nothing. And in the end, a deserved win for Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Both Saudi Arabia and Japan, they both deserve their wins. And it's good to see teams from our confederation doing really, really well, because in the past, you know, teams from Asia usually sort of cannon fodder, but also at the same time, it's sad on our end that we did so badly and these guys did so well. I mean, we will talk about the Socceroos and their performance against France later. Trust me, we'll be talking about the Socceroos and their performance against France a little later in the program.
But one last positive thing, also really, really impressive, the Japanese spectators cleaning up the stadium after the game.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just, in these days, in this world today, so heartwarming, and I must say, my fullest respect.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
We have to take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we have Nick Hatzoglou from Football Victoria, but first, our friend Brian Yap, who has some important things he'd like to say.
You know what they say, good things come in small packages. And Albert Street Cafe is tiny but mighty. It has the best coffee and sandwiches in Melbourne. To be the best in Melbourne, you have to be pretty good. And they are. Come and see for yourself. Meet the friendly staff and see why this little family-owned business is a giant among the rest. Albert Street Cafe, 306 Albert Street, Brunswick.
Football is a game for everyone, regardless of your race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, or even your physical impairment. Football is for everyone. Every sporting organisation strives to be as inclusive and diverse as possible, and Football Victoria is no different. And joining us from the Inclusion and Diversity program at Football Victoria, we have Nick Hatzoglou. Nick, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Gabriel. It's wonderful to be here with you here today.
It's wonderful for you to be here, and I just want to ask straight off, like, what exactly is the Inclusion and Diversity program at Football Victoria?
The Football Diversity and Inclusion program at Football Victoria encompasses AAA, which is Access for All Abilities, Indigenous football, our First Nations people, history. We've also got Mini Roos settlement program, and wheelchair soccer, powerchair soccer, blind football. There's so many different programs that we run, and really excited. Just in the last 12 months, we've had walking football for our older citizens.
Well, it's
Something for you, Gabe.
No, they're too quick for me. I mean, they go at my sprinting pace, the walking football. But it's great to see that football is played in so many different varieties, that there's so many different options for everyone to participate in. I mean, a couple of months ago, we were at the All Abilities tournament at Knox for the finals from Football Victoria, and it was just an amazing occasion. It was just really, really wonderful to see so many people, so many different walks of life just enjoying the game of football.
No, that's correct, and it was wonderful to have you guys out there, DeArne and Bernd, on that day. It's very uplifting, that program. There's lots of people that want to consume the game in all different varieties, and it's our job to make sure that we've got a program for people to play the beautiful game. And that particular day, you know, you saw the young people, boys and girls, participating, their parents, carers. Everyone was out and enjoying themselves. And there's always a way we can tailor a program to enable people to access football, and that's what we do in our particular department at Football Victoria.
Do you know, on that day, the courage of those children, they blew me away and they stole my heart. About 3 of the kids there, they could have vision impairments, and there were those black balls. They ran with no fear, and they would get that ball and they would play, and just even some of the kids purposely getting yellows from the referee was very endearing. It's such a wonderful and inspiring service to the community for people to have all abilities and play. How does somebody get involved with an all-ability club? Where do they find these clubs? How do they get kids involved?
So the best place to go is footballvictoria.com.au. All the information is on that particular website. I'll repeat that, footballvictoria.com.au. It's packed full of information, all the latest programs, interactions, and ways you can get involved. People can browse. We've also got a lot of stuff that happens on social media under Football Victoria. So that's probably your go-to initial step. You can also call us at Football Victoria. It's you can find the phone numbers, and we'll put you in the right contact or the right person to speak to. But yeah, thanks for those kind comments. We see that it's like I said, it's a very uplifting program, and you know we do make people's lives, you know, more worthwhile, and they enjoy it and they have a break from their everyday challenges, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Nick, it's great these news are. There's also a bit of a sad chapter in terms of what's happening at the World Cup in Qatar at the moment when we talk about diversity and inclusion. How does that make you feel if you see, you know, all the great effort that you put in here at Football Victoria, and then at the world's biggest sporting event, suddenly you have to discuss all this, you know, the rainbow colors and everything. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, it is very controversial, and I've really been reflecting on that and my own personal thoughts I think injustice and non-inclusion anywhere it happens in the world should be highlighted, the light shown on it. And I keep saying to myself, you know, in football and in Australia, we probably haven't taken up the challenge of First Nations people. So we've got our own challenges here in Australia. I think, you know, injustice anywhere, we should tackle it, and Qatar's no different. You know, a program we run proudly is our Pride in Sport, our LGBTI, our rainbow communities. And we do some wonderful work with Melbourne University Soccer Club, Melbourne Rovers, and other particular individuals. So we try and action what we believe, and our motto or our purpose at Football Victoria is football anywhere, anytime for everyone. So we have to live up to that.
It's a great motto. And like you did mention First Nations and Indigenous communities. There sort of seems to be like, I don't know, this is from as an observer, but it sort of seems to be like the AFL and the NRL have this sort of greater connection with the Indigenous communities, but with football not so much. And if there is some sort of community, it seems like with women's football, with the Matildas and female football, there's a far greater connection with football and the Indigenous communities in the female spectrum, but not so much in the male spectrum. Is there any sort of, what are the initiatives from Football Victoria to sort of get a greater traction with the Indigenous communities?
Look, your observations, Gabriel, are spot on. Football has had a few stop-starts in the Indigenous space, but I'm really proud to say that at Football Australia, who's our governing body, has just released their RAP plan, their Reconciliation Action Plan, and they've employed Courtney Hagan, who came over from Cricket Australia. She's Indigenous herself. She's from up Queensland way, and she's doing some terrific work. So we're playing catch up compared to those other sports, but Courtney is really stimulating some really good work, and that's flowing down to the member states. So look out. I know at Football Victoria we've had some cultural awareness training, because it's important that we are empowered and we have the right awareness to be able to go and reach out into the communities. So look out. But, you know, John Moriarty Foundation, and there's been some other national competitions that sit outside the football affiliated bodies that have been doing some wonderful work and carrying the torch. So we just need to combine work together, and I think we'll see some, you know, the talent's out there, both in the women's and boys space. And, you know, hopefully it won't be too long before we've got a Socceroo or a Matilda representative from First Nations people.
And Adam Goods is a part of the John Moriarty Foundation, am I right?
Yes, recently they announced like an advisory body, and Adam Goods, who plays, I'm assured he plays soccer up, I think it's Waverley Way in Sydney with Craig Foster and several others.
It's a decent team.
Yeah, so he genuinely loves the game, and you know, we all know what Adam stands for. He's a great Australian.
And any plans from Football Victoria ahead of next year? We have the Women's World Cup coming to Australia. Is that all again covered by FIFA? And we have seen the good and bad from the FIFA end. Will Football Victoria be involved in any kind of that? Because then the whole lens will be on Australia and New Zealand next year.
That's right. New Zealand and Australia are hosting the Women's World Cup. Very exciting. As you might have heard, we've got the home of the Matildas being built out at Latrobe. It's a purpose-built stadium for women and girls, by women and girls. I've seen presentations and what it's going to look like. It's absolutely amazing. And I think that'll create a huge catalyst for more girls coming into the game. As far as programs go, there's a lot of marketing and promotion being done now with Play Football. You'll see clubs coming out and welcoming women and girls in particular. That's a huge focus of all of Football Australia and Football Victoria. And it's important that we meet those challenges. There'll be a lot of hype and interest in our sport, and we need to create those pathways where people can consume the game in whichever way they want to. And that's a challenge that we're grappling with at the moment, and we're creating different ways people can connect.
Yeah. So we have to go, but before we go, for this World Cup, apart from Australia, obviously? Is there any particular team that you like to support? And please don't say Collingwood.
I am a Collingwood supporter. Yeah, look, I'm really looking forward to our game tonight. I just remember that euphoria I felt when we scored against France. You know, it was amazing.
Brief.
Yeah, it was brief, short-lived. But yeah, look, I always love the traditional countries like Brazil and Argentina, even Croatia. I really enjoyed watching them in the last World Cup. So if I had to choose a team that I'd love to see win it, that's a real tough one. I'd probably go for one of the African teams. I'd like to see Ghana or someone, emerge. Yeah.
Well, Ghana's in the same group as Uruguay, so I hope you're wrong. So anyway, no, but good luck to you, Nick, and to Selin as well. He also works with you, Selin Apache. They do an amazing job at Football Victoria with inclusion and diversity, and we just hope that it gets bigger and better and keeps growing. So all the very best to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nick. We just have to take a quick break, but first we have some words of wisdom from Brian Yap, and after that, our friend Miguel Gill from the Spanish Broadcasting Group.
Bowens, 128 years of customer service, 128 of providing quality timber around Australia, 128 of that big yellow sign, 128 years of being the builder's choice. Bowens are the builder's choice for a reason. Bowens have been helping people and businesses, big and small, right across Australia for 128 years. Need I say more? Okay, I'll say it again. Bowens, 128 years of serving the community, 128 years of quality, 128 years of being the builder's choice. If you need timber and hardware, you know where to go. Bowens, the builder's choice.
Spain has some of the best players, some of the best clubs, and arguably the best league in the world. Spain are always in conversations about being potential winners, and this time in Qatar, Spain is one of the top 5 favourites to win their second World Cup. To talk about his beloved Spain, we're joined by 3ZZZ broadcaster Miguel Gill. Miguel, welcome to the program.
Hi Gabriel, thank you so much.
Well, Spain, let's start it off. Just made it against Costa Rica, 7-0. It was a bit of a fluke. I mean, you can acknowledge that, but no, 7-0 against Costa Rica. I mean, what a fantastic start.
That's what we expected, you know. From the beginning. Of course. No, of course not.
We're filming this?
No, so yeah, it was a surprise. We didn't expect to perform that good during the first match of the World Cup. You know, Costa Rica, during this World Cup, you can see like some countries like Saudi Arabia, for example, with Argentina, or Japan with Germany.
Yeah, Japan against Germany.
So of course we were not expecting that result, but it went all right. Everything worked. So yeah, with some controversial decisions, you know, from our coach, like we all know from even before the starting of this World Cup, there were some decisions on who he picked for his team, because it's his team, it's Luis Enrique's team, you know. And yeah, but everything is working for him, as it was during the qualifying, during the last Euro Cup, and during the last Nations League. He's been having some really good results with his team, and they are still performing well. Let's see what happens on Monday morning against Germany. Bernd, what do you think?
Well, I'm actually wondering how much respect Spain still has, but after our performance. But honestly, I'm not very hopeful. I mean, with all respect, we have the quality, but after this first game, I don't know. Yes, we can turn it around. We probably can have a good fight against Spain, but I don't see at the moment you guys have the momentum with you, and the way you performed. Also, as you said, very impressive how Luis Enrique built his team, and I think there were a lot of controversial discussions in Spain around the team. But now he kept calm and built his team, and at least the first match proved him right, whereas for us it was the complete opposite. So we are under massive pressure, And of course, there's still a lot of discussion. The last match, we lost 6-0. That was one of the last game. I think it was the last game of Joachim Löw. We lost. Okay, that's a few years ago, but we didn't perform well against Spain. The last, I think, out of the last 6 matches, the only one we won was after our World Cup win in 2014, and you guys just had been knocked out in the first group stage. So yeah, maybe we might have a draw if we are lucky. But with all respect, the quality is...
Otherwise, it's going to be a mini final, Spain versus Germany. But yeah, like when Spain won the World Cup for the first time, because Spain...
For the first time and the only time.
Yeah, well, so far we don't know. But when, like, because we had Margaret, who was a French fan, and France and Spain, they're sort of similar in that for many, many years they were like so close to winning, so close all the time, and then they finally won, and then things just went onwards and upwards. Like when Spain won, was a sense of relief. It's like, oh, finally, or oh yeah, we knew it was going to happen, but we just didn't know when. That sort of.
At the moment, I think we are still building again a new team. As you can see, there are many young players, like for example the midfielders. Right now, Barcelona midfielders, Pedri, Gavi, and Busquets, of course not. Busquets is almost retiring. It's actually his last season playing for Barcelona. But Gavi, it's 18-year-old, and he's performing really good. He's playing every single match in Barcelona. We also have a fullback from Barcelona, Valde, which was picked after the Gaya from Valencia was injured, but he wasn't picked on the first round of 26 players. Actually, he's playing. Jordi Alba is his substitute, but Jordi Alba was picked before him.
Okay.
That's one of these decisions from Luis Enrique. But anyway, we got Valde now on the team. And yeah, there are many players. 20 of them haven't played a single match of a World Cup final stage, so you can see that we are still building. Maybe during this World Cup we can do something, but we are looking for the next one in 4 years, when they will have more experience, you know, in all these kind of tournaments and all these international matches, and it will be.
Do you think Spain has the right team this year? Would you have changed anything major? And who's your favourite player in the team this year?
Pedri, I think it's a top level. It's one of the best midfielders for me at the moment in the whole world. And yeah, there was some decisions. We have better strikers in Spain, like we have Iago Aspas, for example. We got Borja Iglesias, we got Joselu. All of them are scoring more goals than any of the other ones that got picked. But in the end, it's Luis Enrique's decision. We all have a coach inside, but we are not the coach in the end, so we cannot do much with that.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and it's working, because whatever he does, it always works. For example, for this first match, he picked Rodri, which is a defensive midfielder for Manchester City, and he put him as a central defender, and it worked, which is a different position, and normally he would have a struggle doing that, playing in a different position, but it worked. For example, he picks Guillamon, which is a central defender for Valencia, and he puts him as a defensive midfielder. So everything he does, it works for him. Morata is not scoring lots of goals in his team, but when he gets to the national team, he scores. So you never know.
Where do you see Spain, if I compare it, with all the other leading football nations in Europe? I mean, you guys, for 5-6 years, you almost dominated world soccer, right? You won the World Cup, you won 2 European Cups, and then you went out first round 2014 in Brazil. But then still, you started rebuilding in a way that I see as quite consistent. For example, Italy, they missed twice the World Cup. Then they suddenly made it to the final again of the European Cup, right? But France, you never know. There is a little bit of, Mbappé, very good player versus Benzema. You have always, like with France, if they are playing well, they're playing well. Yeah. But within the team, there's always a bit of, animosity. So, and I feel like with Spain, what's the perception of the Spanish national team? Do you think that there is a bit more, time to build the team? Because that's what I feel like there is. Yeah, we trust Luis Enrique, or.
We do, some of us we do. The media normally doesn't. So there's, and he doesn't like the media also. So there's like love and hate relationship in between them. But we've been rebuilding with him for the last 4 years, and actually we had really good results. During the last Euro Cup, we lost against Italy in the semi-finals, but we deserved going into the final. We played a better match than them, but we lost in the penalties. Same in the Nations League, we lost against France with not offside, from Mbappe. They actually changed the rule after that because it was no one could understand that offside. So yeah, we could have even going to the final of the last Euro Cup and going to the Nations League with good results. So yeah, we started rebuilding during the last 4 years with Luis Enrique. It's still an ongoing project, and it's going to have good results for sure.
Looks very promising. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that Spain, probably not now, probably not this World Cup. I mean, they'll do well, but I think the next World Cup, that's where they're going to really, really challenge and really probably make it and go all the way. But just a little bit off the Spanish national team and to yourself, am I right in saying that you're a part of the Real Madrid supporters group of Melbourne? Yes. Yeah. So, because there's a lot of Real Madrid supporters at 3ZZZ and who aren't from Spanish or Latin American backgrounds, and they probably might be interested in being a part of the
course,
group.
yeah. Please join us. We have a fan club called the Melbourne White Sharks.
The Melbourne White Sharks?
Yeah.
Why White Sharks?
Well, no, we are in Australia. What do we think? I think there are kangaroos in Sydney also, another one. But here we are, the White Sharks.
The White Sharks. Okay, so how does somebody, do you have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, and we normally join all together to watch the matches. Actually, last year we had, during the Champions League, we had really good matches, you remember?
I bet a lot of sangria and paella was drunk and eaten that day. Was eaten that day.
But they even showed El Clásico on Fed Square, right? One day on a Monday morning. Were there many people out there?
There were, like about 200 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, La Liga organized that. Yeah. And they had like free breakfast, free coffees for everyone.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
It was a good event, yeah.
Yeah, and our friend Max, he's part of that group. And
he's part of the group, yeah.
He's now living in Queensland. He's a meter maid now, from what I've heard. But big hello to our friend Max. But Spain, they play Germany. That's a mini final. That's why DeArne's in the middle, just to separate them two. But they play Monday morning at 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. What do you think? You think it's going to be a draw? Do you think it's going to be a victory to Spain? Because, Germany are Germany, so...
We are struggling and under a lot of, and under a lot of pressure.
I was talking to Miguel.
But you looked at me.
Yeah, unbelievable. Welcome to the Bernd Merkel show. But what do you think?
It's going to be different. It's not going to be the same as Costa Rica. With Costa Rica, actually, we beat the record of 82% possession during the match. 82, which is a lot. Also passes. It was 994, it was the record in a final stage of the World Cup. It's not going to be the same. We need to do some changes, I think. For example, I think we cannot play Rodri again as a central defender because their strikers are not the same from Costa Rica to Germany, of course. So we have to do a few changes in there. Maybe Morata also for Asensio as a striker. We have to do something, but I think it's going to be...
Yeah, well, even if you draw or lose, I'm sure I'm sure Spain will be just fine, and especially in the future. But good luck to Spain, and thank you so much for joining the program. And big hello to everyone at the Real Madrid supporters group. Even though I'm a Barca fan, but it doesn't matter. That's fine. But thank you very much and good luck. And we'll be back with more after the break. But first, here's some words of wisdom from Brian Yap.
Hey football fans, I know you want quality footballs at affordable prices. And I also know that you want footballs made ethically right here in Australia. Then look no further than Wincher Sports. They make quality footballs for all levels of players and clubs at affordable prices. Look at these amazing footballs. Buy in bulk and save money. When you think of quality, think of Wincher. Go to www.winchersports.com.au or email info@wincher.com.au and win with Wincher.
Well, some of the second round of matches have already begun last night, and later tonight, in a few hours' time, we have Australia versus Tunisia at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But before we look into the future, we have to delve a little bit into the past, shall we say? DeArne, the Socceroos, they're for want of a better term, performance against France.
Oh, you called that a
4-1
performance.
loss. Well,
Oh.
I don't know. What do you
Look,
call it?
I'm the first to sit here and say I was very optimistic coming into the match against France, given their depth of injuries. But as Bernd pointed out rightly, their depth of talent in France stood up to the test. The concern we had was the age and I suppose the lack of, we'll call it blooding of the players at this standard of football for Australia to represent us. Look, everyone is still living the dream and the love of the first goal being Australian in that match, and it was all downhill from there. The whole game plan seemed to change from Australia after that first goal. Instead of still playing what I consider to be their more natural style, they became defensive. And against a team like France, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know what the coach was doing, and it was just Heartbreak City for me after that. But it was Heartbreak City for me after that. So. Look, I'm highly disappointed in the coaching on the day, and I can't really look to some of the playing base because they are so young and, as I said, unblooded, really. They don't have enough caps at this level. And, Gabe, you pointed out last week, the prior games, we had how many people playing in major leagues around the world compared to now. It showed on the pitch.
And having said that, I mean, you did raise a very good point, that the blooding and the amount of caps that this current Socceroos team has. I'm actually quite a big fan of Nathaniel Atkinson. Back in the day when he was playing for Melbourne City, I would watch him constantly and I was always thoroughly impressed. He was one of the better players during the Olympic campaign. I really, really hope that it doesn't, his game against Mbappe, who, come on, I mean, it's Mbappe, he's one of the best players in the world, that it doesn't destroy him, that it makes him a better player. I don't want to see, young players with good potential to sort of, be like, geez, I had that one bad game and just completely evaporate. I hope he can get better.
I think Australians take that sort of thing as character defining, and we always punch above our weight in a lot of different sports. Not soccer yet, we'll get there one day. But I think that we take that as character defining, and we won't, it's not soul destroying, it's a challenge to step up. I don't think it will destroy his career.
I hope it.
As you said, it was Mbappe.
I think, to my knowledge, he's out tonight anyway against Tunisia. He's injured. But coming back to the game, what I was surprised was when I read a few of the comments or listened to what Graham Arnold said in terms of there is a reason why they are the world champions. I mean, to a certain degree, I agree, but there is also like, you lost, and in the second half you didn't have a chance, and there was no real change in the game plan in the second half. You're 1-2 down, so at least show me something that there is the will to at least give it a try. But the second half was not at all. And I disagree also when he said the first 45 minutes, I think it was the first maybe 20 or 30 minutes where Australia played quite well. But in the overall picture, then it's like, what do we expect from Australia at this World Cup, right? And now against Tunisia tonight, that's probably the biggest chance to get a point out of this tournament. I sound negative here, but that's my honest opinion.
But it is an honest opinion, and we might sound negative, but these are facts. This is the reality. And it was just so bad. I could not believe it, because we all, it is France, the reigning world champions, some of the best players in world football. We know, we get that, we're not disputing that. But it just seemed like Australia seemed to be, I don't know, like a deer caught in the headlights. They just seemed to be completely out of depth. They were completely outcoached. I just don't understand the necessity to play from the back every single time. Mbappe is incredibly fast. Dembele is incredibly fast. Griezmann's incredibly fast. They have all these amazing forwards who are extremely quick and extremely dangerous. So why are you playing it at the back? That's how they scored 2 of their goals. It's just common sense. And we have the ball, we're losing, we have the ball, and so instead of going forward, we just turn around and play it to the back, and then Matthew Ryan has a touch, and then he gives it to someone in the crowd because we keep playing it in the back. It's A-League tactics. This is not the A-League, this is the World Cup. We're playing against France.
I did make the comment last week, it seemed like a New South Wales Australian side.
or a Sydney
Or,
FC
yeah.
and Central Coast / Central Coast Mariners, but there's a lot of people, a lot of ex-Socceroos that have been extremely upset with the selections and so forth leading up to the World Cup. And they do have a good point. I mean, when I first saw the squad list, it's like Langerak, Rogic, even Kenneth Dougal, who plays for Blackpool, Callum Elder, who plays for Hull. They moved heaven and they moved heaven and earth to get him away from the Irish national team set up to play for the Socceroos. He plays one game and then you can't, he's just disappeared. Like, they haven't called him up since. These are players that are solid, that play week in, week out for their clubs. Well, Rogic has been a little bit, up and down, but he's someone with good experience. It would have been good. When I first saw that Socceroos squad, I thought, this is a squad for a World Cup qualifier against Chinese Taipei or something.
With all respect
like that.
to
I mean, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So many young players, so many players with hardly any caps. With another coach, maybe it could work, but with Graham Arnold...
But again, I wouldn't put the finger just towards him, because I think that the whole structure or the story is a longer one. And for me, it started with the win of the Asia Cup on home ground. So yes, then we had the qualifier for the World Cup 2018. But latest then, when Ange Postecoglou left, I can't see a decent improvement over the last 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at how Australia qualified to the tournament, yes, we are happy. We won against Peru in the penalty shootout, but the way how Australia was struggling, yes, we had COVID, but so were other countries as well, and we were really struggling in that group. As I said before, now I see Saudi Arabia a little bit different, but it was not in a way that I expected Australia to qualify.
Yeah.
So, and we are coming back to the beginning, the story that we have for years now, the structure within Australian football, and at least this match showed us where Australia stands in the world football level.
Yeah.
So,
That's,
and for tonight against Tunisia, I mean, they had a decent 0-0 against Denmark, which are a top side. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Denmark for me was the favorite. Also, again, what an amazing story! Christian Eriksen being back now, playing with a pacemaker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of these wonderful stories, apart from the bad stories that Qatar also produces.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, of course, fingers crossed that tonight maybe we will have a boost against Tunisia, but...
Yeah, we'll see. But just thinking about what happened, I remember seeing Graham Arnold do a podcast with Mark Burris, where he mentioned about how, the Socceroos are playing against France, you should be nervous, blah, blah, blah. He goes, no, we're fine, because France don't really know anything about us. I'm thinking, do you honestly think that the French national coaching unit aren't going to be doing any homework whatsoever against any of the opposition they're playing against? They would have seen tapes and DVDs and all sorts of analytical data against all their opposition. So I was just like astounded by this, and this sort of, we're going to, we've played in Qatar before, we'll do well. Yes, a lot of teams play in heats. Australia's not the only one.
Without sounding rude or disrespectful to the Australian players, it's like we've got man babies playing against men. And I don't mean that to be derogatory, I just mean the age of some of these players, and again, the lack of caps and the blooding of them. It shows against a fully fledged group of excellent men in the French team.
Yeah.
I don't know what Arnold's thinking.
And like we said, we mentioned it last week, that lack of players playing in some of the top leagues and the top clubs in the world. I mean, even we have one representative that plays in Germany, but it's in the second division.
Yeah.
The two goal scorers for the Japanese team against Germany, they play in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Look at Japan, look at Saudi Arabia, look at how many of these, South Korea, they're
You
just
show me,
improving.
maybe with the
We're not.
exception of, I don't know about the Qatarian players, but you show me another country that's rocked up to this World Cup and does not have their team full of people in international, whether they're Bundesliga, Premier League, La Liga, Serie A. They're playing internationally on the stage, and they're getting themselves massive amounts of experience. Is there any other team in this World Cup that has taken in people with such little international experience? And I mean regular playing experience in those leagues.
I'm just wondering, because there is also discussion, you know, that the level of the A-League was getting better and better over the last years, which I think is true.
Yeah.
But could that also be to the disadvantage that now players feel more comfortable to stay in Australia rather than
Yes.
to take the risk and to take that big step and go overseas and get their foot into the door and start playing with decent European clubs? Because I think we discussed it last week, that depth is really missing.
It is.
Yeah,
So,
exactly right. I mean, we can discuss this all day, and I'm sure we will. Once the cameras stop rolling, we'll continue. But just very quickly, we won't go through all the games, but just some of the games that are sort of like mini finals, like some of the matches that are really, really important in the makeup of what's going to happen in the following rounds. We have France versus Denmark, Sunday, 3 a.m. Argentina versus Mexico, 6 a.m. on Sunday. Group E, we've mentioned this before, Spain versus Germany, Monday, 6 a.m. Group G, even though Brazil are pretty comfortable, but there's a lot of Brazilian fans out there, Brazil versus Switzerland, Tuesday, 3 a.m. And Group H, Portugal versus Uruguay, Tuesday, 6 a.m. They're all Australian Eastern Standard Time, so they're all very, very important games. And of course, in a few hours' time, Tunisia versus Australia. We wish Australia all the very best. They need it.
what's your tip?
I hope Australia win. I don't care the score, just please win. That's all I ask.
I'm sorry, after Tunisia drew with another fairly quality side, I don't even think it's a draw. I think we're losing again. I'm sorry to say it, and I love my country, and I love my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernd? Well, that's all we have to... No.
I can't tell you why. I have a 1-1 feeling, but
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's fine. But thank you very much, Bernd. Good luck to Germany. Thank you very much,
Germany.
DeArne.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to the Socceroos. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you next week, same time, same place. Enjoy the football. Bye for now.